Welcome back to I Know What I Know. I'm your host, Josh Zabak. Today, we're going to keep our continual deep dive into the sales process for you, the customers. This way, you guys know how to defend yourself from an in home salesperson reformed like myself. Last week, we had talked about the warm up. The week before that, we talked about the entry. This is after you've made entrance into the house from this free estimate sales appointment where you get a high pressure sales rep out to your house. And we've moved on towards the warm up. So the sales guys established a little bit of credibility with you and your family. You guys have shared some laughs together. You feel a little bit comfortable, like he's got your best interest in mind. And this is where the sales process starts, really creating the need. See, a lot of customers get wooed in by the canvasser, the person knocking at their door, the telemarketer ringing their phone, or a crazy advert that they saw in the mail that said, you can get windows practically free. They're $400 and 0% financing, and buy 10 windows, get 3 free. And if you buy the windows, we'll just buy you a car now. I mean, there's so many crazy ads out there, but obviously the whole point is to get that sales guy into your house and have him begin his sales process. A part of that is creating the need. See, people don't have a sense of urgency. They don't have a reason to buy. They didn't expect to buy anything. This is whether you're talking to a window sales guy or a solar sales guy or a timeshare salesperson. If you're getting into the timeshare schemes where they're like, oh, we'll give you free dinner. Just come out, check out our sales pitch. It's only like 30 to 90 minutes. And of course, it ends up being 360 minutes. You're there 6 hours later and you're buying a timeshare. Why? Because they created a sense of urgency. They created the fact that you're paying for this trip, whether you realize it or not. And again, this is what a professional salesperson does. He gets you under his ether. It's like a cast, like a spell that he puts on you to get you to want to buy. Now, how do you get somebody to want to buy? Well, they're not going to buy something that they don't think they need. So again, that's where we get into creating the need. You're going to start to hear the sales guy we call paint pictures with words. From, again, the window side of things, it might be a sales guy coming in your house saying, oh my gosh, could you imagine if you had a big view bay window here, something to bring the outside in, something to see the four seasons. I mean, if you think about the cost of a painting, you can spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a painting. So, I mean, even if a window is $5,000, what price can you put on God's seasons changing every season? You get to see spring, winter, summer, fall, all of that good stuff. Painting pictures with words, getting you to see the vision that they want you to see, not necessarily the truth. Again, if you spend $5,000 on a bow window or a bay window, this is a bay and a bow window, actually. This is a bay and a bow window. Very expensive windows. That's a sales guy's upsell. It's something that he can take away from you later. It's something that he can take away from you now and say, and takeaway is a part of this, saying, oh, you probably wouldn't want to spend that much money. I mean, you spend $5,000 on a window. Could you imagine? But could you imagine waking up, seeing nature and actually feeling like it's inside your house? I mean, you have a flat window now, and now this is going to extend it out. It gives you a nice seat, somewhere to sit down. All these little things. I mean, I'm not going to go to it because I don't have my sales hat turned on. I turned that off years ago. But I can reminisce, and I can reminisce of the old times that it sounds so stupid, but people get tied up in that. People show what they're liking. People will eventually tell you how to sell them, whether it's them slight visuals like that. I mean, if they're looking at you like that, then you probably don't care about, and the good sales guy's going to skip that part until he gets you looking like, That's what a sales guy wants. Sequential selling starts now. It's not going to immediately feel like a high pressure sales situation. It's not going to be like he goes from 0 to 60. What I mean by that is if you look at a car sales guy, as soon as you walk in a car dealership, you feel like you're being sold. And I don't know if that's you guys or if that's just me. Comment below. Tell me if that's you or if that's me when I go into a car sales situation. I'm just like, man, these guys feel like sales guys. They're like, hey, what's your budget? What are you looking for today? Why don't you check out this car? Why don't you do it? Like right off the bat, they don't go into a rapport building aspect. They don't warm up to you. They might have a couple minute warm up, but again, I'm used to a 30-minute to an hour and a half warm up. If you don't know what the warm up is, check out last week's episode right here. But sales guys on the home improvement side and sales guys in the in-home sales, again, beyond home improvement, this can be timeshare sales guys, long format presentation sales guys, we'll call it. They're going to warm up to you slow. They're going to start selling you slow. They're going to start to basically bird feed you, give you a little bit at a time, see how much you can take. See, a good sales guy likes being uncomfortable. Whenever I would train my sales reps, I would always take them into different restaurants and make them embarrassed to see how much they can take. Because when you're sitting in somebody's house, you can't feel any embarrassment. You can't feel any shock. You have to be able to say the questions that need to be said, even if they're uncomfortable. We'll get into that in the pre-close and the close. That's where it really gets interesting and fun. And you can't believe what some of these sales guys actually say, including myself, what I've said in the past. But at this point, sequential selling is seeing what a person can take, how much a person can take, how much you can push them in a buying direction, how much you can force them to take what you believe and start to believe it yourself. You can start to set up slight closes right now. Closes, we'll talk about closing next week, but closing is a way to shut doors around a person. Basically, what you're doing is a customer is in a labyrinth of doors, and all of these doors are open, and all these doors are what we call in the sales industry, they're objections, or what you guys call the customers' excuses. I can't buy these windows now right off the rip because I'm going to send my son to college. I can't buy these windows. I know I know I'm interested, but at the end of the day, I got to buy a new car. I have another repair to do. So all of these are things that customers set up that they don't even realize are telling the sales guy, because deep down inside, they know they're being sold. Deep down inside, they feel the sales process, but they don't necessarily know which part of the sales process they're on, nor do they know when to start giving these objections. And what I would warn customers is to give your objections up front to a salesperson and don't deviate off them. If you know you can't afford something because you really are sending somebody to college, then don't let the salesperson woo you into buying. Then don't let them start to touch your personal situations and manipulate those around to make it seem as if you can afford to buy. I think that's one of the biggest things, and what I mean by a sales rep making somebody uncomfortable is they're going to really take control of the situation. We talked about how important control is through the sales process. And it's extremely important, because if you can make a comment and leave that door open for you to exit the sales process when you don't want to buy, that's a good thing. What the sales guy is trying to do is to shut the labyrinth of doors, to shut I'm going to have to send my kid to college. Well, maybe we offer deferred payments. Maybe, let me ask you this. When do you think you'll be past sending your kid to college? Or when do you think you'll be financially recovered enough from sending your kid to college? And you might say, oh, well, next year. Okay, so let me ask you this. Again, this is for a sales guy in his mind to start to shut one of those doors, to maintain you on a sequential selling path to where you're starting to say yes, and you're starting to allow that sales guy to control your personal life, which is crazy. But people do this every day, and I think a part of it is human nature, because you start to believe, you want to believe. And again, this is after you've warmed up to the guy and you have a little bit of trust. So now he's setting up a close. He's setting up, let me ask you this, if there was a way that, I don't have a time machine, but in a year from now, if I were to come back and we were talking about this, if your son wasn't going to college, or if you were financially recovered from sending your son to college, would there have been a chance that you may have moved forward on a project, or may have at least considered purchasing windows today? And the customer might say, yeah. They don't know. They just allowed that salesman to shut the door. And that's a problem. That's a problem, because now you've allowed that sales guy to exercise control. And what the customer should be doing is taking control back from that sales guy. There's no point that you should allow the sales guy to control, sales guy or woman, to control the sales process. Feature, advantage, benefit. This is another thing that you're going to start to hear early on in creating the need. You're going to start to see the sales guy take you outside or show you problems. And I'm keeping this broad because taking somebody outside is, again, a controlling aspect is for the sales guy just to say, hey, why don't we get up and let me show you some stuff outside. Again, now that's a reinforcement to the sales guy that he's controlling the customer. You don't want to be controlled, especially in your own house. You want to take control. And that in itself, if you're honestly out there just trying to get a price from a sales guy, it should take enough control back so that it doesn't give the sales guy a path to close. That's what we're going to call it. Because when that sales guy starts to get the mini control aspects and it's like, oh, I got them to do that. Oh, I got them to do I got them. It gives the sales guy confidence. It gives the salesperson confidence. So at that point, what you're trying to do, I don't want to say this, but it is kind of to destroy the sales guy's confidence, because the less confident they are, the more they might rush. The more they might rush means the less of a sales presentation you're going to hear when we get into product demonstration and stuff like that next week, the less of a pre-close, the less of a close, and they're not going to have a post-close because they didn't first call close you. First call close is the sales guy sells you the first day he's there. That's what he's trying to do. That's what the salespeople are trying to do. That's how they make money. Everything is sold on urgency, giving the customer a reason to buy today. And again, you as the customer, you need to take that control back. So the more that you can deviate and control the sales presentation, you're taking that control away from the salesperson, which means in the end, you might get what you want, which is just a price. A lot of times the sales guy's here literally to give you a price, which at this point, you're going to start to hear slight prices. You're not going to hear the price that you want. If it's for a pool, you're not going to hear the $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 price on a pool. You're going to start to hear feature, advantage, benefit, meaning, and I know nothing about pools, but could you imagine the coping on the side? I mean, a lot of people use just regular old tile coping. That's not what you want. I mean, yeah, you can save some money. You can save $5,000, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to spend a lot of money on this pool, and you're going to enjoy this for decades to come. So if you had to spend another $5,000 to $10,000 on top of that, and you got coping on the edge of your pool that looks different than your neighbors, that makes you feel like you're at a resort every day, I mean, wouldn't that be worth it, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? Feature, advantage, benefit. The feature is the coping. The advantage is it separates you from your neighbors. And the benefit, it makes you feel like you're at a resort. And they started to assign small pricing. So now in a customer's head, whether this is pool sales, window sales, or even time share sales, you're going to start to build a price in your mind. And that's what a good sales guy does. How do you sell a $1,500 window? You make a customer think it costs $2,500. So when you say it's $1,500, but if you buy today, it's $1,200. Now it's not going to be that gimmicky. It's long, it's drawn out. We'll cover that in future weeks. But all of this is to build a value in your mind, is to build value in your mind. It's all part of price justification. It's all a part of the sales guy creating that need. Now, the need is on the pool aspect that we were just talking about. The coping is going to make you feel like you're at a resort, and you need that in your life. You need a bit of sanity. The window side of the justification of pricing was easy, especially when everybody was lying about how much you're going to save. FTC finally is starting to crack down on that, but what scares me is the solar side of things. Because when you're taking a project and you're marking it up 300, 400%, it's way outside the recommended markups of any product that sells in today's economy. You can check out last week's episode where we talk a little bit about that. But all of this is to justify the price. So they're going to start to justify it through savings, through solar renewable energy credits, through all of these different local incentives that might disappear. And the salesperson's supposed to present it to you as if it's paying for itself. Nothing pays for itself. You still have to pay for it. You still have to invest it. And you still have to assume that what that salesperson is outlining for you is correct. Do not make a decision the first time that sales guy is out there. You just met them, you met them for a couple hours, and you're potentially thinking about investing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars with this salesperson. I don't care what you're buying. I don't care if you're buying Cutco knives where you're spending $1,000. It's still a lot of money. I don't care if you're buying Kirby vacuum cleaners and the vacuum cleaner salesman knocked on your door and said, this thing will suck the drapes right off your curtain. Oh, maybe not that, but my dad did that. Long story. Kirby vacuum people, thousands of dollars for a vacuum cleaner. I really don't care what you're buying. You shouldn't buy anything at the guys at the ruse of a salesperson because they're just trying to make a commission. And if there's nothing that I can beat into your head at this point, sales guys operate for money. Sales guys operate for commissions. The reason that estimate is free is because they're depending on their skills and expertise to navigate you into a sellable situation so you can buy off that sales guy so they can make a commission so they don't give you a free estimate. If it was called a free estimate, shouldn't I be allowed to just get the estimate without the need of purchasing, without the incentive of purchasing? Do prices really change from one day to the other that fast? I mean, if we're talking about investment products, maybe. If we're talking about windows, pools, and solar panels, probably not. But yet, people believe it every single day at the rate of 70% close rate, which is disgusting. Even if you have a bad sales rep and they're closing 30%, 3 out of 10 people that they meet off the street, they can get to spend tens of thousands of dollars. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's all through creating the need, whether it's them overstating a wood rot issue. I may or may not have back in the day when I was 16, younger. We were trained this way. We didn't know. We were at the back door of this lady's house and she had black mold on it and she touched it. And I looked at her and I'm like, did you just touch that black mold? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, is there a chance your dogs could have touched that black mold? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, you need to go wash your hands right now. I literally ran to my car, grabbed hand sanitizer, came back to her, made her sanitize her hands. Now, talk about creating the need. This lady thinks, and I didn't say deadly mold. I didn't say anything like that. I just said, did you touch that mold? It's probably not a good thing. You should probably wash your hands. And I was over emphatically stating that. So she saw my sense of urgency. And in her mind, the need was just created. She can't have black mold on her doors. It's unsafe for her. It's unsafe for her dogs, friends, and family. So at that point, she's got to do something. And what she got to do? Replace the doors. Why? Because mold can't form on our doors. Now, how was that mold formed? I don't know. I'm not a mold expert. I wasn't trained to be a mold expert. I was trained to create the need. And that's what I did. I created the need so she thought she had to purchase a product that she may have otherwise not had to purchase. Now, what was that black mold? I don't know. Sorry, Miss Brickley. Somebody will remember that. I had somebody that I was training with me. May have been featured on another episode, Kevin. Again, all of that is a part of creating the need, eliciting information at this point. You're informing a customer. Again, you shouldn't feel like you're being sold at this step. You should feel like, oh, this guy's got my best interest. Oh, this guy's telling me good information. Oh, he's not selling me. Because again, compared to the car sales guy that's talking price and terms, we talked about every salesman's job is to whittle everything down to price and terms. If you get it down to price and terms, again, you have all of those doors in that labyrinth of a hallway shut so nobody can get out. The only out that you funneled them down to is price and terms, which you control as a sales rep because, again, you're making this pricing up on the fly. You're overinflating your price. You're discounting your price. And when they balk at it, you're calling your manager after you get committed terms. Talk about this future weeks to come, but I'll give you a little taste of it. Basically, it's like at this point, if it came down to the company, I know you wouldn't say no to our company because you told me you loved our company. I know you're not going to say no to the product because you love our product. And basically you said there's no other product you'd want in your house. So Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if we get down to this, when I show you this price, if you tell me yes, if you tell me no, is it safe to say it's going to be because of affordability? And if you got them set up right, pre-close, close, they're going to say yes. So that means at that point, you've successfully narrowed it down to price and terms. But again, price and terms should not be brought up at this step of creating the need. At this step, you're just giving them the information that they want, not the price, the information that you want as a salesperson to give them. If you give them the price, well, what do you have to stay in their house for? They called you for the free estimate. So what, as a salesperson, are they going to do? They're going to withhold the price. They're going to withhold the price. They're going to build the value of the price continually with an effort on looking at the small parts to add up to the big picture. The more numbers that you hear, the more that you're going to think, oh my gosh, this is going to be expensive. And when you get to the end, it shouldn't be so shocking when it is expensive. This is what high pressure sales guys do. So early on, again, creating the need step where you might be 30 minutes into the presentation, you might be an hour in, you might be an hour and a half in. A lot of good sales guys are going to spend less time presenting the product and more time on the pre-steps to the close. Again, there's 10 steps to selling: post-close, close, pre-close, all of that starts step 7. Step 6, you're going to get into product presentation. And we're going to talk about kill options next week. But again, good sales guys are going to spend a lot of time on this step because this is where you justify your price. This is where you justify the need. When's a customer not going to buy? When they don't want it and when they don't think they need it. But if you make them think they need it and you make them want it, then you're putting yourself in a closable situation. Reinforcement and feedback. This is where, again, the sales guy's not really overselling at this point. He's touching on some sales tactics, touching on some sales techniques. Reinforcement and feedback is something that a sales guy is going to do to make you feel as if they're listening, make you feel as if they're taking your input and giving that back. Obviously, reinforcement and feedback is you walking around the house, creating that need. Again, let's go into wood rot. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I see a little bit of wood rot here. I mean, let me, guys, you got to replace this window. I know you don't want to replace your windows. I know you told me, you're not thinking about this for another 5 years. But with this wood rot, the way it is, the danger that this could create, I mean, look, you have wood right here. You have an electrical outlet right here. If it rains and you're getting moisture inside that wood, where's that water going? To the electric. I don't know if you ever thought about this, but water and electric don't necessarily mix. And God forbid it touched that and it flared up and you get a house fire because of a rotten window. It's probably something that you didn't think about. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, guys, if we don't do anything today, please promise me for your safety, we at least try to get this window taken care of. We're one of the few companies we'll do a one window job. Again, this is putting everything that they feel at ease. And once they bite onto this, once they lock onto this, again, maybe they go this route, maybe you take them another route. A salesman has all of these different directions to take you depending on what you're feeling. So if they can get you on this and they feel like you're on board with it, reinforcement and feedback would be simple. It would just be like, guys, you understand the hazard of this, right? And the customer says, yeah, absolutely. And you're like, do you think that's dangerous? The customer's like, yeah, I do. So knowing what you know now, when we get down to, you guys promised me at least you're going to really consider trying to do the best that you can, even if it's unaffordable, whatever it is, we'll try and find a way to get this window done. Well, yeah, because I can't have it like that. Salesman's going to let go of that. He's going to put that in his bag of arrows to hit you later. So whenever you're in the close and he said, hey guys, remember whenever we were talking about that rotten window and you told me no matter what, you want to get that one done today? Now, see, they didn't exactly say that. The sales guy said that. But he got the feedback and he reinforced it with them and he got them to agree. So at that point, if they're agreeing to that small statement, they're now on board with it. Now, again, for a sales guy's got to stay positive. So now he sees a sellable situation. If you already feel like you got them committed to one window and they don't even know the price, they just know the problem, do you not think that sales guy did a pretty good job at creating that need? Again, you'll know you're at this step when they start to pick on stuff, pick on problems, give you a problem, give you a solution. Not telling you the price, just problem, solution. Be careful at this point. Because at this point, you're telling them how you want to be sold. You're telling that salesperson what's important to you, and you're allowing them to reinforce it. And you're not even thinking about this because, again, you're just thinking, man, this salesperson's really nice. They got my best interest at heart. They are trained assassins. They are trained to kill you in your own house. Maybe I can't say that. They are trained to close you in your own house. They are trained to close you first day, first call. This is why when compared to the car dealership, where you're being sold right off the rip aggressively and without hesitation, 10, 15 minutes, they want to start the sales process. They want to start to get the price and terms. Why? Because somebody else is going to walk in that door that they can jump on. For the in-home sales guy, he's been waiting all day for this one 7 o'clock appointment. Why 7 o'clock? Because it's what time the husband and the wife will be home, both decision makers, both buying parties, and they got to wait till then. They're not going to pitch somebody in the day that they can't close. They're going to wait until they're in a closable situation. All of this, for that to take place, for it to be a closable situation, they have to do a great job at creating the need. So if any point you feel like you don't need the product, tell them, I don't need this product. Don't go along with what they're saying. Don't allow them to feature advantage benefit you. If you genuinely want to know the product, that's fine. Learn about the product. If you genuinely want to know the product on your own, tell them give you brochures. You'll research it yourself. That way you're in your own home. That way you have your own time. That way you're not being taken down a path by a trained salesperson that's designing a process to sell you that product that you might not need. And you didn't even think about that. Don't be wooed. Don't be enamored by their personalities. People sell off their personalities. And then they also know how to take that away. We'll talk about post-close. Once you're sold, they have to make sure you don't cancel in 3 days. So it has to be a clean sale. But this is why this process isn't 20 minutes. That's why this process isn't an hour. That's why this is usually a multiple hour process. I would say my average time in a house when I'm selling was about 3 hours. And that's average. You have some outliers. You might be in the house for 7 hours, 8 hours. Doesn't matter. If you feel as a salesperson as if that's a closable person, you're going to be in that house as long as possible, as long as it takes to make a sale, and as long as the customer allows you to be in that house. Keep it short and sweet. The sales guy, again, shouldn't be getting into all of your personal information, and you shouldn't allow them to get in your personal information. If they start to bring something like that up, just say, you know what? I'm just here for the price. I just need the price. I'll make my own decision. I don't make decisions first time I meet somebody. I don't allow people to first call close me. Could you imagine if a sales guy didn't even know that you know the term first call close and you say, don't first call close me? And he's like, whoa, how do they know that? They just might think you know something or somebody. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this show. Next week, we're going to get a little bit more into the sales process of kill options. Kill options is where you start to eliminate your competition tactfully. You take the customer through the shopping process, so you eliminate them from saying, oh, I need to shop around on this. Talk about that next week. Stay tuned. I appreciate you guys checking us out. I know what I know. We're dropping weekly episodes. Our whole process is to educate the consumer of the unscrupulous salespersons. And there's a lot of them out there in a lot of different industries. Appreciate you guys checking us out. Like and subscribe, and check us out next week.